Welcome back, and this is the last leg of the show. And what better topic to tackle other than how to make money? Are you struggling financially? And if you are, well, we have a gentleman in studio today who's going to tell us how we can make money literally from the soil underneath our feet. And that is Steve Megami, who is 30 years old and is engaged in agribusiness, and to be specific, greenhouses. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you.
Now, I'm interested, how did you come upon, you're pretty young, how did you come upon this business and take to it in a way that most young people would actually feel it's not really for me?
As you know, we are living in a world of climate change.
Yeah.
And we are living in a world of increasing population and reducing food availability. So for the country and for the world at large to be able to sustain food,
Yes.
or to define what is called food security.
Yeah.
Remember the 4 pillars of food security.
True.
To ensure that we have availability of food, it is accessible, it is nutritious, and it is sustainable. And now, because of the current trends of climate change, that has affected really agriculture. And particularly in Kenya, you will find that 20% of Kenyan land is the only available land which is able for farming.
For agriculture.
And again, you will find that the 20% is not fully utilized because of, changing trends of rain patterns.
Yes, actually.
That affects the production of food. So now we had to think of how can we be able to increase food production at the same time making money. So that is how we came up with the idea of Gardenscape greenhouses.
Okay, so
Yes.
you saw a need and you had a passion and you figured out a way to meet the need and fit it to the market. And could you tell us, is there an actual market in Kenya for the produce that comes out of what you do?
In our greenhouses, we normally plant food.
Did you do some research before that to determine where this food will be going?
Yes, of course, we did the research, and we also did the pilot projects.
Okay.
So that we know whatever we are getting ourselves into is a sure deal.
Okay.
So now, for instance, we talk about market, you will find that what we are dealing with is food. Food, number one, is scarce because everybody is eating. We have 3 meals, 2 meals, depending on where you are and depending on your class.
Yes.
So that means that the market for products is ready.
Yeah.
We cannot even first sustain the local market before we even export.
Yeah, we're even at a level where we import food.
Yes.
We've had talk of maize imports during the first half of the year because there was maize scarcity because due to the rains. So how do greenhouses fit into this whole narrative of food security and literally making sure that we have something that the weather, the climate cannot provide for us?
One of the solutions that we can put in place to reduce food insecurity is to adopt this technology of greenhouses.
Okay.
Because one, greenhouses will make sure there is continuous supply of food. In that, greenhouses will control, we can define a greenhouse as a controlled environment.
Yes.
And this means that if we do not depend on rain-fed agriculture, we can be able to produce food all through around the year.
Yeah.
Then number two, you will find that in greenhouses, because the conditions of greenhouses are controlled, the crops will grow faster compared to the ones that are outside the greenhouses. And again, because we don't depend on rain-fed agriculture, we will make sure that we employ irrigation, and that will be able to ensure that we have production of food all through. Absolutely. Then on the other hand, we will get people waiting for the food, and then you make money.
And speaking of land scarcity, also there's also the technology of hydroponics. Are you engaged in this also?
Yes, yes.
Tell us more.
Hydroponics simply means that they do not use soil as compared to just normal farming.
Yeah, and to someone like me, that sounds like magic. Please explain how it works. Growing plants without soil.
Yeah, without soil. We just use another media. Of course, it's a combination of different ingredients, and then that will act as soil. Because you know, hydroponics will ensure that there are no diseases that are found in soil. So it's just, we are just trending from rain-fed agriculture to
Yes,
greenhouse,
to
now
greenhouse.
in greenhouse, from soil to hydroponics.
So we are literally changing with as the environment changes.
Yes.
You're also shifting. And what are the advantages of this approach to farming?
Advantages.
Space, I would imagine you have more room to work. Yeah, with as opposed to being confined to a particular space of soil. Is that true?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Tell us more about the advantages of that.
Advantages of greenhouses. You will find that, as I've said, we'll have all-round production of food.
All round.
All
So,
round.
by all round, you mean you don't depend on seasons?
We don't depend on seasons, because again, it's you to know the planting cycles, because you don't have one greenhouse. You can have greenhouse A, greenhouse B, C, and T, and then depending on how you plant, so that by the time you're harvesting greenhouse D, you are now planting again greenhouse A. That makes a cycle complete. All through around the year, we'll have tomatoes, we'll have capsicum, we'll have lettuce in the greenhouses.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so there's also the issue of the 5 phases of greenhouses. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, what
Or is it different?
phase 5 means
Yeah.
for us as Gardenscape greenhouses.
Yeah.
We started some years back. In fact, this year we are celebrating our 5th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
And that is why,
Congratulations.
yes, and that's why we are saying we are in phase 5 of our
Okay.
greenhouses. Of course, we had phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, 4.
Yes.
Now we are in phase 5. Yes.
So for the young people out there who are sitting at home, they have this skill, but they feel like greenhouse work or farming is dirty work. What would you advise them about the work that you do?
What I can tell the youth is that 75% of the Kenyans who get money at the end of the month, or whichever, I mean, whether they get it daily or at the end of the month, 75% of them get money, and their money either directly or indirectly from agriculture. And
Explain.
agriculture
Yes.
means that you have to go to the field, you have to be dirty.
Yes.
You have to get dirty, you
Dirt
have to
under your
dirtify your
nails.
nails,
Yeah.
and then after that you can be able to pocket something in your pockets. So now what I can advise the youth is that we as Gardenscape greenhouses,
Yeah.
we ensure that you who don't want to get dirty, bring your money, let the money work for you.
Yeah.
We will get dirty for you, then you will smile all the way to the bank.
Okay, so even if it is you're averse to the manual labor, there's also a provision that someone can actually invest their cash
What
in such a project.
should be remembered is that Gardenscape Greenhouses is the first company in Kenya, and could be in East Africa, to introduce what we call lease a greenhouse concept.
Lease a
Greenhouse concept, whereby if you are a farmer or you have farming intentions like you, but you are in studio, you
Yes.
don't have all the time to go to the
Absolutely.
to the farm. We have a provision whereby you can bring in money
Money.
to our company. For instance, you can greenhouse of 8 by 30.
Yeah.
It goes for 380,000 Kenya shillings. After you bring your money, you give us a 1-month grace period.
Okay.
We construct the greenhouse and we plant. Then we will manage the greenhouse for you
So
for 6 months.
where is this greenhouse? On a piece of land that you are
on a piece
providing?
of land that is owned by the company.
Okay.
Yes, because what we want to relieve the farmer or the investor is the burden of being in touch with the greenhouse and the farming things every now and then.
And maybe they're not very knowledgeable on
Yes,
how to do it.
yes.
So you provide the knowledge, the piece of land, and the equipment, and they provide the financial.
They provide the financial, which they bring it as investment. Then after that, now they will give us a 6 months period. We manage, we harvest, we sell the products.
Okay.
Then we call you for your check.
So I gave you 380,000 shillings in January.
Yes.
And come around July, I'm hoping and praying that my investment is going to bear fruit.
Yes.
So how much should I expect from you?
If you give us 380 for 1 unit of 8 by 30 meters, you'll be able to get 275,000 Kenya shillings as returns on investment.
Okay.
And this goes for the next 3 years
Okay.
at installments of every 6 months.
So let me get this straight. So I give you 380, the return you said. So at the end of the day, the asset is basically worth over a little over 500,000 shillings.
If you give us 380,000 Kenyan
Yes.
shillings, after 3 years, because our contract runs for 3 years, you will be able to pocket 1.29 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this guaranteed?
It is guaranteed. We have been in operation for the last 5 years. Even on coming Saturday, we'll be paying our investors at Kenya School of Law.
Okay.
Yes.
So as you remit these monies to the people, is this halfway through the year, or is this done every year? How do you now go about remitting?
You see, these investments are done every day. Even today, some investors will come to invest. Yesterday, others invested, and the trend continues like that. So now we have monthly payments for all investors who had invested. Like today, Saturday will be paying for August. That means those are investors who invested either January, within the month of January. They are the ones that within that bracket of January. We combine all of them and we pay them, because we also have live events and we have media coverage. Because we want to be honest, we want to do our business on daytime, on plain table. Yes.
Which is pretty interesting. So obviously not everyone can afford to give you the 380,000 shillings.
Yes.
Are there other ways in which someone can get involved in this agribusiness, so to speak, and make a profit without necessarily having to, you know?
Yes, in phase 5, we have flexible investment packages that are as little as 10,000.
Okay.
We say pay or book your greenhouse with 10,000, then pay the rest within a period of 1 year. Yes.
So you'll be able to top up as
you will
time
be able
goes
to
by.
top up as time goes.
But then the returns would come as expected after 6 months.
After you finish, you complete paying your greenhouse, is the one we start construction, and then we start counting your days.
Okay.
And then we still have other terms and conditions that apply.
Has the project, in your view, been successful?
Yes, it has been more than successful.
Explain this to us from the investors' view and also from you as the administrators.
We have seen investors come in to our company when they were less of finances, but then once they invest, after a few days, a few months, a few years, you get that the financial status of that person has changed. They even give testimonials.
Okay.
They say how the company, how the returns has been helpful to clear their fees, to, you know, to cater for hospital bills, to improve on their lives. I mean, and we really feel happy when we see investors giving testimonials of how they have been helped by the company. Then from the other side is that even as the project manager of the company, I can attest that these are true copy of original.
Okay.
It's a true copy of the original, so it is certified.
Okay.
Yeah.
The true copy of the original. Now, I'm curious as to how you would compare formal employment to this sort of investment. Have you seen it bear more fruit than even some people engaged in the daily 9-to-5 jobs that many of us actually admire and just pray to get?
Yes. Just from the start, from what I said is that you cannot go wrong with food. Because everybody eats.
So that means there's always a market.
There's always a market. A market means there's always money.
To be made.
Yes. So we don't expect somebody who is in formal employment to be having much money compared to somebody who is involved in agribusiness. Because not everybody works in formal employment, but everybody eats food that is cultivated or farmed by the farmer. Yes.
Absolutely. And do you think we could get to a point of food security where we don't even have to import? Does Kenya have that kind of capacity?
If we can address the challenges of food insecurity and by adopting farming technologies like these greenhouses. If this can be replicated even at grassroots levels, at county levels, I don't see a point whereby a county can do an earth dam for their residents or for their citizens, and then they leave the water unutilized. If we still tell the people to do open field irrigation. And you take, for instance, those ASOS, arid and semi-arid areas, like where I come from, Makueni. You will find that the county has done a good work. It has done some earth dams for our people, but then the water is not utilized sustainably, because you'll find a few people trying to do open field irrigation. Open field farming, it means that more water will be exposed to the sun, and then a perforation again takes place, and then we continue siphonning the water from the dam. Then after a few days, there's no water. We go back to the same crisis. But if we can adopt greenhouse technologies, greenhouse uses less water, in fact ahead of water compared to open field farming.
Is it because of the controlled environment?
Because of the controlled environment.
And therefore, this means we can basically farm, what you're saying, anywhere in the country.
Yes.
So the whole narrative of drought.
That is the agenda of the greenhouse, and that was the objective of the greenhouse. It is mobile. You can farm anywhere as long as you have water. And this water is minimal water. Yes.
Now, as we it sounds pretty far-fetched, but we are living in a situation where there are a lot of young people who are not employed. So from the point of view of your investors, and you're now going to that phase 5 that you're talking about, would you encourage young people to flock to this sort of investment or this sort of business, or even just set up their own at home a greenhouse and see how it goes?
Yeah, I can assure you that we have most of our investors are youth, and then we also have another provision whereby if you still want the greenhouse at your farm or at your home, we can still do it for you. We come, we construct, and we train you on how to do the management. Then at the end of the day, if your products matures, we register you. We have what we call a program we call Golden Scape Growers Program. This is a program that brings or that bridges the farmers and the market and the vendors. So if we do a greenhouse at your farm, we will recruit you to Golden Scape Growers Program, meaning you will be sure of
our market
of your products.
And because a lot of people, and being that you're dealing with greens and vegetables, going bad is a real fear for you. So this would help meet the. I mean, these are very fantastic ideas. What was the inspiration behind this? Because I'm quite intrigued that somebody would actually provide a market for you. So all you need is to subscribe to the
to the program
project. Now moving forward, how do you think golden space greenhouses has contributed to the agroeconomics in general in the past 5 years of the country?
One, we have been able to create jobs. We have more than a lot of employees. You go to Laikipia, go to Meru, go to Nyandarua, go to Gong, go to Kabete, go to Makueni, go to Nakuru, Eldoret. We have created a lot of jobs. That means that more than 200 people directly depends on Golden Scape. We have created created money system for our investors. That means again thousands of people are directly getting money from Golden Scape as returns on investments. And then now we have siblings of those people, of the investors and the employees. Meaning now, at least we have tried to improve the economic status of many people in this country. Then number 3 is that because of food production, we have been able to even assist the government in reducing less imports. Let's say, for instance, things like tomatoes. Because we have continuous, and this is a large-scale farming, we have continuous harvesting of tomatoes. That means that our farmers, sometimes our vendors who are in our programs, they don't get exploited by brokers.
That's another,
because they get direct products from the farm. That means that money that could be wasted within the system is now used to enable the farmer or the vendor to do other things. Then you'll find that because of food, of the quality of food that we produce. For instance, if I take tomatoes from Golden Scape greenhouses, because I know for them they have good quality, and they don't have chemicals and all those funny things, because you know everybody is trying to run from cancer.
Yes,
Yeah,
true.
so
And
we
I was
want to
getting
eat.
to that. I wanted to
we
ask.
want to consume organic foods. So that means that
So
if
you're
we,
purely organic.
yes,
No GMOs, no, funny business with the food.
we don't
It's all
do that.
organic.
No, yes, it's organic.
So
Yeah,
this,
so that means that now, in terms of nutrition and health-wise, we have also assisted the government for the last 5 years to reduce the number of, if, let's say, for instance, if there are some diseases that can be caused by somebody consuming bad tomatoes, because Golden Scape is there, then that money will not be used again, because now there will be no diseases. Yes.
Now, how about guarantee? Because as an investor, I would be concerned that I might never see my money ever again, because you have promised the 260,000 after 6 months. But how do you guarantee that this is going to be the farmers'
guarantee number one is that we have been operating for the last 5 years. Number two, we have all the resources, the requisite resources. That means that we are ready for the agribusiness.
Yes.
Number three is that we have employed qualified agronomists. Because you can have the wrong people doing the right job,
right thing,
then you will not get anything.
True.
We have secured the market. We have guaranteed market, meaning our products will not go to waste. We also have production cycles to ensure that when there is rain and every other Mama Wajiko is trying to do tomatoes in the village and on the riverside, then we don't do tomato that time. We do another crop.
Something alternative.
Yeah, so that we can always remain top in the market. Then we have also paid our investors, as I've said, for the last 5 years. So our investors are already our guarantors for other investors who would want to come. Then we have also insured our greenhouses. So in case of natural disasters, fire, floods, our investors would still be paid.
All right.
Yes.
Now, as I conclude, I'd like you to tell me some of the challenges that the government can come in to sort out agribusiness for people like you and anybody who's investing in agribusiness independently.
What the government can do is to encourage what we call private sector development.
All right.
And even if it means tax evasion, or they offend the tax for private companies who are involved in agribusiness. Yes. Because in some countries, that is what they do. Yes. You'll find that because these people... Yes, exemptions. These people are trying to assist the government, for instance, in Kenya, to achieve one of the big four agendas of food security. And we have Golden Scape here. Why are these people paying taxes?
Paying all those taxes.
Why are they I mean, the price of the materials required too high. Why is the import duty too high? Yes. Yeah, those are some of the things that the government can do. Yes.
The government can actually step in and make it easier for farmers, people in agribusiness, and make it even more enticing for people who are looking to join such an organization, or perhaps just independently doing it. And on that note, I'd like to call it a show. Thank you so much for your contribution to this. I know I am sold on the idea of agribusiness. Are you? I hope this helped you see more ways of making money. But on that note, I'd like to wrap up Morning Express. Thank you so much for staying with us for the past 3 hours. I've been your host, Trix Inga.